how we start our day and how we set up our morning routine actually is going to tell us a lot about how we're going to feel for the rest of the day and how we're going to sleep later in that night. Now, if we get the right morning routine, you're going to nail this brain fog thing once and for all. And what I will say up front is that I'm going to describe what a potential optimal, I'm not going to say perfect, but optimal morning routine would be for a true revitalizer. I'm going to describe a routine which I have done multiple times. But you have to find your own version of this and know exactly what each tool actually is for when it comes to your morning routine. Now, I've already mentioned about circadian rhythm, our natural body clock. And that is, we want to make sure that we are getting up, first off, around the same time every morning, in line roughly with when the sun comes up. Now, I'd like to pick a time around 6 a.m. And out of OCD, I set my clock for 5:55, so 5:55. But when that actual clock is not a noisy alarm clock, it's a Lumi lamp that lights up over 30 minutes. So I wake up around 6 a.m. every morning. And truth is, if I didn't have that alarm clock, I would still wake up around that time. I was just an event in Colombia. The first day was a bit rocky with jet lag, but after that, no alarm clock. I woke up at around 6 a.m. from getting my body aligned with the local times with sunlight exposure. Therefore, even when you're at home, one of the most powerful things we can do within the first 15 to 20 minutes is get outside in the sunlight. Now, it's quite dull here in the UK, especially in the winter times. And at 6 a.m., there's no sunlight in the winter times. We're waiting until 8 a.m. Now, what you can do, first off, if it's cloudy, you can still get outside. It just means we might need around 5 to 10 minutes, or 10 minutes rather than 5 minutes of standing there, not looking directly into the sunlight, but getting your eyes into bright light quickly. Now, what you can do as well is you can get a SAD lamp, a seasonal affectional disorder lamp, or light box, whatever we want to call them. And they're available. In fact, I've got one on right here. They're available on Amazon and other places. You just want to make sure that one has 10,000 lux, which is just a measurement of the light brightness, which is apparently equivalent to the sun. Well, not apparently, it is equivalent to the sunlight, which we need to get in order to help switch our brain on. Now, as we'll get to in the evening routines, you can't just use a device. In the morning, our light sensitivity is a lot lower, and we need to get bright light into our eyes. And it's even been shown with blind people that it is the receptors in the eyes. It's not whether they see it, it's the actual receptiveness of the eyes. So blind people will still benefit from getting outside in the dark, in the light. And in the evening, unfortunately, it's opposite. We are so sensitive to light in the evening that even just a bright light will impact our sleep. And we'll get to that in the evening routine. We want to get outside, as we say, within the first 15, 20 minutes, at least in the first 30 minutes of waking up. Now, I appreciate, again, if you've got family and a different routine, it may be difficult to do that, but try your best. And we want to increase core temperature. Actually, an interesting fact is that around 2 hours before we wake, we have our minimum body temperature, our minimum core temperature. And that starts to rise because we want to raise our temperature to wake us up. So that is also another reason why we want to go to bed and wake at the same time. So our body knows when to have this minimum core temperature and to start waking us up. If we go to bed or wake up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., when does our body know when to actually have its minimum core temperature and then to raise the temperature? Now, also, if you're someone that wakes up during the night, actually between 2 hours before your minimum core temperature and 4 hours before your minimum core temperature, it has been shown that if you have, not that you would have caffeine or you would be exercising, but if you have caffeine or exercise or a stress response or view bright lights, then you're going to impact your sleep the next day and you will find it harder to get to sleep earlier. So it's something just to bear in mind if you are someone that wakes up through the night. Minimum lights, have the lights low on the ground, have low lights. Try and just use the moonlight if you can, depending on where you're at. Now, we've said about caffeine. We don't want to be having caffeine first thing in the morning Give it around 90 minutes to 2 hours before you wake up. Now, I'm a big believer in gratitude and doing a little bit of meditation, a little bit of breath work. So put those things in there. There are studies to show that it helps us with building a good day by showing gratitude first thing in the morning. And you can get guided meditations if you want to do those sorts of things. Something I do every morning, I have done every single morning this year, including when I've traveled, is my daily Stoic book. Now, I've had this book for 4 years, and I'm not going to say I've done it every day for 4 years, but 90 to 95% of the days I have read a passage from this book. Now, it makes it super easy because it's just one page. And it's a Stoic that might be Socrates. It might be Epictetus. It might be Marcus Aurelius. Like that, there's so many different passages in this book, and it's something different every day. But over the last 2 years, maybe 3 years, I've got a daily Stoic journal. Therefore, it asks you a question. It's just one paragraph to fill out. Some people like to journal a lot, but just this one paragraph that asks you this question to fill out is super, super powerful. So I would recommend doing that. Now, people are going to want to exercise at this time, potentially. Exercise if this is your time. But if you exercise first thing in the morning and you have caffeine, just be aware you have much more of a chance of having an afternoon energy dip. So just be prepared for that. Exercise times have been shown to immediately exercise when you wake, 3 hours or 11 hours after waking, just to help you in order to get the right times for that. And then it comes to food. Now, some people are going to look at fasting and things. And you could test your blood sugar levels. We want to have a fasted blood sugar levels of 4.2 to 4.9 or 80 to 90 if you're in the US. And you can see whether you need to eat or not. Personally, if people are having problems with brain fog, I recommend to get some calories in with those 4-pillar foundations from a smoothie or something on a very small amount of that in the morning within the first hour and be consistent with it. And then have a snack at the same time if you need to have a snack, lunch at the same time, and so on. But work on your routine. Work on what you need to do. My exact routine I aim to follow is that I get up, I go and make a Red Bush tea, I get outside and I have that tea outside. I then do some meditation outside. I use a thing called a sigil that is something that I've drawn up. It's hard to explain, but I won't try and explain it on here, but I'll draw it up. And sometimes I might burn that into the atmosphere. It's only just like a small piece of paper, and I let the universe take control of that affirmation as such, of that manifestation. So I do that. Then I get in and do a little bit of core work, some planks and things, and some breath work, walk the dogs. That sounds like it takes absolutely ages, but it's about 10, 15 minutes that I'm outside doing these things. Walk the dogs within the first half an hour for about half an hour, 40 minutes. Then I do my cardio, whether it's running or cycling, and weight training, depending on the length of those sessions. Sometimes it's cycling, no weight training. Sometimes it's a very, very short run and then weight training. Sometimes it's just weight training. But I do my main exercise session after that dog walk. Then, because my actual blood sugars are nice and stable and I don't suffer from brain fog unless I know why, because I've treated my body like rubbish or I've got back from a different time zone and I'm getting ready with my body clock, then I'll have my first meal. Now, I've built myself up to that fast. So it's around 11:30 that I have my first meal. So it's something to be aware of. A lot of people talk of intermittent fasting like it's this wonder thing. If your blood sugars aren't good, we are going to signal a lot of stress by not getting them in check before we then start fasting. Just be aware of that. So that is where we go with our morning routine. Work on getting optimal with your morning routine. The big one in there, caffeine when we wake up. We shouldn't be having it if we are suffering from brain fog. It is one of the quick, low-hanging fruits, not fruit, that will help you move forward with your brain fog. Trust me there.